episode of Cooking with the Cool Dad. Now, I know you're probably scratching your head saying, but Cool Dad, that's not your kitchen. You're right, it's not. Well, not entirely. It was partially at one point, but we'll get into that in a minute. So today, I'm pulling out all the stops. I am making a dish that, honestly, I haven't had in well over 30 years. This is an old family dish that my grandparents used to make, my grandmother used to make, really. And it's something that I always looked for but could never find. And now that I've found the recipe, a whole bunch of them actually, when it rains, it pours. I decided it's time to make it. But because it's one of those things that was a growing up staple, going to visit my grandparents, the old full Italian on a Sunday, I wanted to share it properly. So I'm currently at my parents' house, and this is their kitchen. So you're going to see some different setups because I'm working in their kitchen today. But we are making Braciole. And let me tell you, if you don't know what it is, you are in for a treat because this is one of the most amazing dishes I can create or come up with in my memory. It's absolutely fantastic. Even talking about it, my mouth is watering because it's just that good. Essentially what it is a cut of steak that is pounded out flat, nice, fairly well thinned out. You put some layers of other stuff in there, you roll it up, you sear it, you simmer it, and you cook it in the sauce, and let me tell you, when it comes out, it is so good. This really does come into the food is life, life is good, let's eat some more in a big way, because this is, basically me bringing a childhood memory back to life because I can do this in the kitchen. And here's the thing, this is why I love doing things like this, because I want to show you guys that you can do this too. You can make things in your kitchen, and you can put amazing food on the table, and you can get your friends and family together. Put the electronics aside, put the phones aside, leave them in the other room for Pete's sake. No tablets, no phones, just people and amazing food. And I'll tell you something, you will be absolutely amazed at what happens. First, it might be a little uncomfortable because people aren't used to talking, but then you start talking and you start learning and you start realizing things. And I'll tell you, once that starts, it's amazing from there. So anyway, let's get started on today's journey. We're going to flip the camera down and get started and have some fun and have some great food. See you in a minute down below. Okay, so we've got our flank steak here. We've got it defrosted. We've got it between 2 layers of plastic wrap. And now, something all of you have been asking me for a while, you get to watch me beat my meat. This is really good if you've had one of those days and you just want to beat the ever-living you-know-what out of something. Really good way to do that. And get a great dinner out of it. One of the questions I hear when it comes to this is, how long should I beat my meat for? My answer is generally until you're comfortable with it. But you really want to get this nice and thinned out. So you want to get it nice so it's as thin as possible and spread out so it's going to be nice and tender and easy to eat. And not break the counter while you're at it. Since I'm not quite to the point where YouTube is monetizing my videos yet, I can't afford to replace the countertop if I break it, so I have to be careful. As I hit it again. And the key here is to really give a nice even thwack to it. As you're bringing the mallet down, or whatever you're using to beat your meat, you want it to hit flat. You want
flat like that. You don't want to hit it at an angle because that's going to go through and cut the meat. Whereas you hit it like this, it's going to just flatten it and tenderize it. Okay, there we go. It's nicely flattened and tenderized. Okay, give me just a minute to get the rest of the stuff and we'll get right back to it. Okay, so once you've beat your meat, I've got it flipped around because of the shape of it. I want to start at this end, but this is where we start the layers, and this is what really brings out the flavor of the Braciole. I am using prosciutto. There we go. And no, I'm not taking it all the way to the end because I need a space for it to seal. 2, 3. And because we want a nice mixing of flavors, we're going to bring in our Italian bread. Now, you can make your own breadcrumbs if you like. Honestly, I got some panko, some seasoned panko because I like the way it tastes. I like the way it crunches. A nice little layer of seasoned panko on there. We got some Parmesan, Reggiano Parmigiano, good cheese, shaker cheese, Italian cheese. It's good stuff. And finally, to add a little bit of savory to it, putting some currants on here. There we go, some dried currants. That's not a dried currant, that's a raisin. Darn you, Sunmaid. There we go. Okay, now that we've got all of our layers on there, we're going to start rolling this. This is the fun part. Just getting it started. You want to just kind of roll your meat gently along the counter. There we go. There we go. This is all that yummy goodness. Just going to pick up the end and work it around. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tie this. If I can find the end of the twine here. I think that should be enough. There we go. I'm going to get the first one under here. I'm going to do my first one right about in the middle. Ah. There we go. Fortunately, it's kind of like a log at this point, so you can pick it all up. And what I'm going to do is pretty much a square knot. Yeah, there we go. Which I had to look at to remember exactly which way I wanted to go to make it a square knot. There we are. Bam. Okay, number 1's on. Number 2. I'm going to put the second and third ones at the ends, so it keeps my ends together, and we'll see where it's at. Okay, so I go this way, and again, square knots, they'll hold, and honestly when you're done you're just going to snip them anyway, so not a big deal about being easy to untie. Slide this under here. A little bit further. There we go. Okay. And there we go. Okay. I think actually it's going to be good with 3. So give me just a couple minutes and we'll get over to the pan and see how we're cooking them. Okay. I have 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil heating up in here. Doesn't have to be extra virgin. It's what I like to use. I'm going to take my Thai Braciole and we're going to sear it. Now, some recipes will tell you just to sear one side, and that's the side that's going to be up when you cook it. Personally, I think searing the whole thing is the way to go. But then again, I had a good reference for that. We'll get into that later, don't worry. You want to let it sit for a couple minutes and get that nice crispy brown bottom on it. Then we'll rotate. And since it's going to be a lot of cooking at this point, I think we'll just hit a nice montage. Okay, now as you see, we got that nice brown, crispy, almost caramelized look. The last side is in there right now. Like I said, some people do one side. I think doing it, searing the whole thing all the way around gives you a little more flavor, gives it a little more in the long run. But again, you do what works for you. Like I always say, I show you what we can do, and if you guys want to customize it to make it something that's absolutely your own, go for it. There is nothing wrong with that. Food is amazing stuff like that. It's just so much fun to be able to create. And when you can bring people together by creating, that's even better. Almost there. And again, you'll see any recipe you look at, there's always going to be 100 different ways to do it. And that's okay, because everybody likes it just a little bit different, and that's what makes us all a little bit unique. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, we are almost there. Okay. Now, I'm going to set this to the side for a moment. There we go. And we're going to pause for just a minute. Now that we've got the meat resting, we're going to do chopped onions in here, right into the oil and the juice from the meat. But we're just going to kind of let these cook for a couple minutes until they're starting to caramelize, starting to get a little translucent. And while that's going, there it is. I'm going to grab the next item we're popping in, which is going to be our garlic. There we go. Now, if you've never played with garlic before, that's okay. I'll forgive you this time. But garlic has an incredible flavor, and it's just a wonderful aromatic. And I'll tell you, this is one of those things that just brings back the memories really well. It's just, there's a certain smell of that garlic, and it triggers those, walking into Grandma and Grandpa, my Nanny and Grandpa's house, you know, and all that good food cooking on the stove. Sunday dinners. How I did not get through how I made it through childhood without weighing about 600 pounds, I don't know, but I'm okay with that. Let's see. So once you get the garlic peeled, there we go, we got our peeled garlic. I'm going to set that on the side. Just going to kind of stir these around a little bit. And yes, there's I think 1 or 2 currants in there as well. I'm currently cooking on gas. And I have this on a low. I'm going to move it to just above a low here. Let's give it a little bit. The thing with extra virgin olive oil is that if you do overheat it, it will smoke. So you might want to be careful of that if you have a good smoke detector in your kitchen. If you don't, then don't worry about it. While those are cooking down, I'm going to continue peeling a little bit more garlic, because as a true Italian fashion, you can never have too much garlic. Garlic is good, and a pain in the ass to peel, I admit, but totally worth it in the long run. There we are. Once you get down to you get to the bottom or underneath the skin there, then the last couple layers, you get it in one spot, the rest of the layers actually come off fairly well at that point. Now watch me make a liar out of myself. There we are. I don't know if you guys can see me in the camera. I forgot to look at that. Okay, there we are. Okay, I'm going to come over here so you guys can see. Just basically peeling the layers off. There we are. To get some nice fresh garlic cloves. There we are. Okay. That can go there. Oops. I'm making a lot of noise. So we're just approaching where we want to be with our onions. You can see they're starting to get a little on the translucent side. I want to give them just another minute or a couple minutes here. Just a touch more heat. There we are. Okay. These are looking good. But you also don't want to fry your onions per se. We just want to get them to that nice translucent stage. There we are. Almost there. Okay. Okay, now comes the fun part, the garlic press. If you don't have one of these, shame on you, you should have one. No, I'm just kidding. They are super handy. That is a thing of beauty. I'm just going to, oops, flip it back too far. Squeeze. And out comes the beautiful thing that is garlic. Put the last one in. Ooh, that smells so good. These are the points where I really wish I could send scents through the video. That would be fantastic. There we go. Use my spatula here. Okay. Oops, I'll put that over there. Now I'm just going to kind of mix this garlic into everything. And we're going to let this sit for about another minute. Man, this smells amazing. Okay. Okay, we're going to let this sit for about a minute now, and I'll be right back with you guys. So we've let that sit for a minute now. Next up, we're going to add, there we go, a couple tablespoons worth-ish of tomato paste. There we go. I've said it before, I'm Italian, I don't measure anything really. And then, if I can get it to open, a full can of San Marzano tomatoes. This is 28 ounces. Yeah. And on top of that, let's see, about another half a can of water. Ooh. We're going to let that simmer for a minute here while we stir it up. Get everything well incorporated into it. Get everything stirred around. There we go. Okay. Now, we're just going to, well, a little bit of oregano left, but that's fine. Enough for that. We're going to add some oregano. Now, some people, depending on the salt you like to use, I like to use sea salt. Literally 3 quick twists, all I use. And we're going to throw in some fresh ground pepper. There we go. This doesn't put a lot out, so it just looks like I'm putting a lot of pepper on there. There we go. So we're going to mix those in. Yeah, watching it come together here. I'll bring this up to a nice light simmer. Okay, Now we're going to let that come up to a simmer, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, we've got a nice simmer going here. So what we're going to do is make a lot of noise first, just because everything is right near the camera, because that's the important part. Got my meat roll. Ease it into the bath here. Oh yeah. And just because, I want to make sure I get it all over. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I gotta get the whole thing. There we go. Okay, now, next, we're going to partially cover. I'm gonna leave a little crack there. And we're going to move this over to our oven. You want to preheat the oven to 325 degrees, which is 162 degrees Celsius if you're one of those crazy metric using people. There we go. Sorry, I just want to wipe the oil off of here before I put it in the oven. Oh. Okay. Coming over. Ooh, this smells good. Okay, right in the oven. Ugh. Okay, and I'll see you guys in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay, so our braciole is almost done in the oven, and we're making our pasta to go along with it. Now, brought the water up to a boil, added in a dash of extra virgin olive oil and some garlic powder for a little bit of flavor. And now we are just going to boil our pasta for the next 10 minutes. And we'll be back. We are done with the braciole, in the oven anyway. Oh yeah, here we go. Everybody stay away from the oven. Bring this over here to set it down for a minute. There we go. Extra hands are always helpful. Okay, and what you guys didn't see is you want to take a knife and pretty much go right into the center of it. It should slide in with no real resistance. That tells you you're done. Total time for this was about 2 hours. So there we go. Pasta's almost done. That's got 2 minutes left as well. When the pasta's done, we're going to throw some garlic powder and some butter in there, swish it around, and then we'll be back to serve it. Okay. Once we empty out the water, we're going to add, while it's still nice and hot, a couple tablespoons of butter. And yes, I recommend real butter, not margarine or any of the other stuff. This is one of those things that just does better with that. There we go. That's how you clean a spoon. And a nice dusting of garlic powder, because you can never have too much garlic. Garlic is always your friend. Now we're just going to stir this around until everything is evenly coated. Now, if you want, you can always throw this into a different dish to serve it at the table, or just bring it out like this and everybody will enjoy. There we go. God, it smells good. I really do wish I could send you guys smells through the video, because I'll tell you, my nose is having a freaking field day here. It is absolutely fantastic. Okay, and I'll be back after we get some food down. We'll make sure we're in frame.
Yeah.
You moved it.
No, I was centering it.
Okay, so we're going?
Yes.
Okay, everybody. That was Braciole. And
It was good.
thank you.
It was
Yeah,
very good, yes.
Now, these are the two responsible for the cool dad being the cool dad here, so I just want to say,
Everybody has accidents.
and that'll stay in just to prove a point. But here's the thing. This is what it's all about. This is what I talk to you guys about every week. When you make some great food, you sit down with family, sit down with friends. I mean, it's good times. You put the electronic devices away and just have a great time with each other. I'll tell you, this is probably my most ambitious recipe yet, and not gonna lie, I kind of impressed myself. It came out well. Are there things I would do differently? Of course. If you're gonna try this, I definitely recommend, while it's in the oven, get in there and ladle some of the sauce over the top of it on a regular basis.
Or put a piece of foil over it.
or put a piece of foil over it. Yeah, between these two, this is where I get most of my cooking experience from. So, but we had a great meal, and it has definitely brought back some memories. I think Nani would be proud of what I did.
I know she would be.
There we go. And I'll tell you, that is the approval I was looking for. No.
From your toughest audience.
Oh yes, but guys, it is just really. This is what it comes down to. It's all about family, all about being together. And as you expand it, family is not necessarily just blood, but as you expand your family to your friends, you really be amazed at what you can come up with and the things you can do and the changes you can make in the world. You start local and it spreads. So the change starts with you. Make some food and get some change going. Like I always say, food is life. Life is good. Let's eat some more. See you guys next week.
Ciao.